This is Krisisna presentation on social psychology. Biological factors. Is social behavior influenced by biological processes and genetic factors? In the past, most social psychologists would have answered no, at least to the genetic part of this question. Now, however, many have come to believe that our preferences, behaviors, emotions, and even attitudes are affected to some extent by our biological inheritance. The view that biological factors play an important role in social behavior comes from the field of evolutionary psychology. Evolutionary psychology is a new branch of psychology that seeks to investigate the potential role of genetic factors in various aspects of human behavior. This new branch of psychology suggests that our species, like all others on the planet, has been subject to the process of biological evolution throughout its history, and that as a result of this process, we now possess a large number of evolved psychological mechanisms that help, or once helped, us to deal with important problems relating to survival. How do these become part of our biological inheritance? Through the process of evolution, which, in turn, involves three basic components: variation, inheritance, and selection. Variation refers to the fact that organisms belonging to a given species vary in many different ways. Indeed, such variation is a basic part of life on our planet. Human beings, as you already know, come in a wide variety of shapes and sizes. Inheritance refers to the fact that some of these variations can be passed from one generation to the next through complex mechanisms that we are only now beginning to understand. Selection refers to the fact that some variation gives the individuals an edge in terms of reproduction. They are more likely to survive, find mates, pass these variables on to the succeeding generations. The result is that over time, more and more members of a species possess these variations. This change in the characteristics of a species over time, immensely long period of time, is the concrete outcome of evolution. Social psychologists who adopt the evolutionary perspective suggest that this process applies to at least some aspect of social behavior. For instance, consider the question of mate preference. Why do we find some people attractive? According to the evolutionary perspective, the characteristics that show symmetrical facial features, well-toned, shapely bodies, clear skin, and lustrous hair are associated with good genes. They suggest that the people who possess them are likely to be healthy and vigorous, and therefore good mates. For instance, these characteristics, the ones we find attractive, indicate that the people who show them have strong immune systems that protect them from many illnesses. Presumably, a preference for characteristics associated with good health and vigor among our ancestors increased the chances that they would reproduce successfully. This, in turn, contributed to our preference for people who possess these aspects of appearance. Here's another example, and one that is perhaps a little less obvious. All parents would like their children to resemble themselves. at least to some extent. But do men and women differ in this respect? Women can be certain that their children would resemble them, but for men, this is never totally certain. Are they the father, or was some other male involved? For this reason, it has been suggested that early in life, children closely resemble their father. This helps reduce the doubt. Later, however, this difference may fade, and the children may come to resemble their mother to a greater extent. The evolutionary perspective does not suggest that we inherit specific pattern of behavior. Rather, it contends that we inherit tendencies or predispositions that may or may not be apparent in our overt actions, depending on the environment in which we live. Similarly, this perspective does not suggest that we are forced or driven by our genes to act in specific ways. Rather, it suggests that because of our genetic inheritance, we have tendencies to behave in certain ways that, at least in the past, enhanced the chances that our ancestors would survive and pass their genes on to us. These tendencies can be, and often are, overridden by cognitive factor and the effects of experience. For instance, what is viewed as attractive changes over time and is often very different in diverse cultures. So yes, genetic factors play some role in our behavior and thought, but they are clearly only one factor among many that influence how we think and act. So, it can be concluded that social psychology focuses mainly on understanding the causes of social behavior and social thoughts. It seeks to accomplish this goal through the use of scientific methods, and it takes careful note of the fact that social behavior and thought are influenced by a wide range of social, cognitive, environmental, cultural, and biological factors. Social psychology is the scientific field that seeks to understand the nature and causes of individual behavior and thought in social situations. It is scientific in nature because it adopts the values and methods used in other fields of science. Social psychologists adopt the scientific method because common sense provides an unreliable guide to social behavior and because our thought is influenced by potential source of bias. Social psychology focuses on the behavior of individuals and seeks to understand the causes of social behavior and thought, which can involve social interaction, cognitive processes, environmental factors, cultural values, and biological factors. Think about it. Do you think it's really possible to have a scientific field of social psychology? Or do you believe that topics such as love, aggression, and prejudice are ones that can't be studied by scientific methods? This has been the Krisisna presentation on social psychology.